Traders, today we're going to be looking at the NASDAQ 100 and the theme is going to be how to use volume profile for swing trading. Now it's going to be relatively straightforward. I believe it's going to be really easy for you to follow along, and I also believe it's going to be easy for you to use some of the concepts that I talked to you about in this video for your trades in the future. So with that said, let's get straight into it. Okay, so right now, as we can see, NASDAQ is basically in a solid uptrend. That's what we can see right now. So what I'm going to do now is, first things first, is I'm going to bring on a trend line, right? We're going to bring on a trend line to give us an idea, some of the levels that we want to be mindful of. So just going to bring on the ray, just going to add that here. And we're just going to bring that to about this level right here. So we now know certain levels we need to keep an eye on, right? Also as well, the previous swing high before this new swing high, we need to mark out that level also. So now that we have that here, we can see that a pullback to 25,242 is an area where we want to keep an eye on things, okay? Especially if the trend line gets broken, then we may consider obviously putting in some sells. But however, the next part of this is where we bring in the volume profile. So this is going to be the periodic volume profile, otherwise known as PVP, right? So we're going to drop that on here. And what we're going to try to find in this area is all of the low volume node areas, right? Why the low volume node areas? Well, basically, this is where, this is the area that I mainly use in my particular strategy to find entries and exits within a trade, right? So I know in this area right here, this is where we have the gap, okay? So rather than using the FVG or fair value gaps, you could actually use the volume profile to help you find gaps in market, right? So this is what we're going to be using here. Let me bring this to the right, extend to the right. Okay. So what that's going to do is that's going to tell us areas where if we get a pullback to, okay, we need to be mindful as to decisions we make in that location. Or what I am going to do now, right? So this is just something that I've just realized that I think would be a lot more useful, is if I highlight these areas so at least you get the price value. So let's make this purple. Get rid of this, and then let's add this in here as well. So our immediate low volume node area is sitting between 25,585 and 25,455. Those two areas is our immediate low volume node area that we want to be mindful about. So with that said, I'm just going to jump into a lower time frame. So first, let's try the 4 hour and let's see if the 4 hour has anything interesting to tell us. So already off the rip, I can see going on right now, we have a descending channel presented to us in a 4 hour, but it's going to become more pronounced if you look at this on the 1 hour or the 15 minutes. So this is where it gets really interesting in regards to what we do and how we basically do it, because at this point you would probably want to enter the market now, but this is where it becomes really important that you're able to exercise patience, right? So long as you can exercise patience, you're not going to go wrong in the market. Worst case scenario, if things start going wrong, you're going to notice it quite early and you'll be out of there before it gets really bad. So these two levels right here are levels of interest in regards to what it represents, which is a low volume node. So now let's go into the 1 hour and let's see what the 1 hour basically tells us. So like I said earlier, a descending channel, price is now pushing back up again, and we have this massive gap in this area. Now another thing that you also want to be mindful of as well is, because we have a gap in this area, market is going to come back to fill this gap, okay? So this is why this area is so important, right? So you might have missed all of this, right? But at some point, price is going to make his way back into this area right here. So if you want to get in, this is where you're going to have to sit on your hands and just wait and watch, right? In my opinion. But however, you're going to do what's best for you. So let's go back to the day real quick to see what we got going on, right? And then what I'm now going to do is I'm going to drop on the anchored volume profile. Let's see what that tells us about what's going on. Okay. Kind of gives us the same sort of vibe as to what it is that I thought was going to be happening, okay? But I think the periodic volume profile is going to be more useful than the anchored volume profile at this stage. So the levels that we want to be mindful of moving forward, right? The levels that we want to keep an eye on in regards to the NAS is going to be the following. We are very interested in 3 areas, right? So the first is 25,585. The second is 25,455. That corresponds to the low volume node area that we've just identified, our most recent low volume node area and our most immediate low volume node area. And then the next area that we also want to be mindful of is the previous swing high to this swing high. So this is the new swing high that we have now, which is price is currently sitting at 25,893. But the previous swing high to that before the Trump tariffs was 25,242. So these 3 levels of 25,585, 25,455 and 25,242. These are the 3 areas we want to keep an eye on moving forward in regards to how price interacts with this area if you are thinking about getting into the market. Now, if you was to ask me, would I jump in right now based on what it is that I'm seeing? No, because if I was to do that, that would be a straight FOMO and I'll be breaking my own rules in regards to how I play this game. So with that said, right, if you found the content useful, make sure you come back to watch the future contents that I will be dropping over. Also, if you have a different idea as to what it is that I've just said, okay, make sure you drop that in the comment section, as well as market does what market is going to be doing in regards to the movements that we are seeing. I think it's also really important that you visit the videos that I put out in regards to the volume profile. That will give you a really good idea as to why I am so focused on the low volume node of the volume profile as opposed to the high volume node of the volume profile, and you'll be able to backtest some of the concepts I talk about in those videos for yourself to see if obviously I'm making sense or if I'm not. So with all of that said and done, I hope you have a really good week with your trades, and I look forward to seeing you all again on the next one.